Okay. Right. For anybody who is joining us on LinkedIn, we have got about a 60-second delay, I think it looks like, between StreamYard, which is what we use for the broadcast, and LinkedIn itself. Stephen's joined me. He's going to respond to any comments that you have in the questions, and we will also get to them later on and maybe bring them up and talk about them. So let's, first of all, thank you very much for taking the time to join us today and find out a bit more about poetry. I'm going to give you some background on why we created this product, and then I'm going to share my screen and do a demo, show you what it's capable of. Stephen's going to talk about how we do the setup. It's a very easy process, but there's a few really important things that need to be done. And really looking forward to finding out if you've got any comments or questions. Please, if you do, post them in the chat on LinkedIn, and we'll be able to get to them. So, first things first, introduction from me. I'm Adam Gordon. I've been in recruitment since 1999. I worked in recruitment agency. I worked in recruitment marketing agency. I worked in consulting at PwC, and I set up a talent sourcing business called Social Media Search in 2009. I set up Candidate ID, recruitment marketing automation, in 2016. We sold that to iCIMS in 2022. And I spent a bit of time in iCIMS helping do the handover before leaving to set up poetry. So, Stephen, quick introduction from you.
Yeah, so my name's Stephen. I am the product experience manager for poetry. I have just over a decade of TA experience working with agencies, kind of in embedded talent and later internal talent. I then joined recruitment technology roughly about kind of 4 or 5 years ago. Have worked for Candidate ID, iCIMS, and now poetry.
Great. Okay, so let's talk about why we set up this business and this product. Nearly a year ago, actually, 1st of August 2023. I was very heavily inspired in 2022 by sales enablement technology, sales enablement processes. And if you're not familiar with this, it is how do we give salespeople all of the content assets and processes and scripts and tools and calculators and props and content and messaging that they need to go right from a cold call outreach through to closing a deal. And it's absolute paint by numbers kind of process so that everybody's got a consistent way of doing things. They've got a consistent messaging. They've got consistent responses to objections. They've got consistent conveyance of the USPs and the benefits. And as I was learning about this, I was thinking, what do we do in talent acquisition? How do we equip our recruiters with all of the Boolean strings and the outreach messaging and the social media posts and the job adverts and even the job descriptions, the interview questions? How do we do all of this? How do we give it to them? And my instinct was, we give them an applicant tracking system, we give them LinkedIn, we give them a phone, and we tell them to go and be entrepreneurial and get the jobs filled. And so after 200 hours of focus groups last year, over 6 months, what I learned was that I was 80% correct. So about 80% of companies do exactly what I just said. Everybody jumps in at the deep end and they either swim or they sink. Around 20% of companies I found did have some kind of, they might not call it enablement, but they might call it enablement. They had some kind of program around furnishing their recruiters with all of the marketing materials and things that they need. It was normally fairly shallow of a program. It normally included maybe a SharePoint, which is not a hugely exciting user experience, and it maybe included some kind of learning sort of solution around how do we do like stakeholder management and how do we achieve influence and those types of things. Maybe the types of things that you get from a social talent or a talent sandbox or something like that, rather than here's how we use the ATS, here's how we use our CRM, here's how we do assessment, here's how we do advertising, like all of the practical kind of inside your team, this is how we do things. So there was probably around 100 people with an enablement job title when we first started doing this, first started learning about it, and I estimate there's now 400. So still not a huge number of people dedicated to this, but it is growing very quickly. The main things that we wanted to be able to solve with Poetry were, number one, the number of tabs that a recruiter has open at all times, because they're constantly toggling from one to the next to get everything they need. They've got Chrome extensions open. They've got tools and apps and all sorts of different places they need to go to find the things that they need to complete their tasks. There's a lot of things that a recruiter needs outside of managing the workflow, managing the vacancy, that is. So they're constantly going from one place to another. The second thing we wanted to really try and solve for was the number of times that people are going onto Teams or Slack and saying, hey, does anybody know where this policy is, or this process is, or this job description is? Has anybody done any recruitment in this location before? And so we wanted to be able to make it really easy for people to collaborate in one area and retrieve what they need themselves without having to go and ask everybody else if they know where something is. The third thing is the job of a recruiter is more broad and varied than it ever has been. It's one of the most broad and varied jobs in the corporate world. People need to be marketers. They need to be talent sources. They need to be market intelligence analysts. There's so many different things that you need to be able to do your job as a recruiter. But what people get hired for is their ability to achieve influence one-to-one with hiring managers and with candidates, and to move a process forward and to be really task-focused and goal-focused. But I haven't yet met a recruiter who is an absolute deep expert on all of the different things that you need to be able to do the job. So we think giving people what they need in their hands at 2 clicks of a button is going to be really, really helpful. So I'm going to share my screen and give you a demo of what Poetry looks like and how we're addressing the challenges that we identified. So I am a recruiter and I log into Poetry, and on Poetry you've got these tiles, and each of these tiles represents a solution. We've developed 28 solutions and they're all available from the desktop. And the solutions groups that these are attached to are marketing, operations, learning, and tools. As you can see down at the bottom, in this workspace, we've added in some third-party tools. So if I've got SuccessFactors as my ATS, I click on here, and it just takes me to the login page for SuccessFactors. If I've got Gigged as a marketplace for tech people, come in here and open that up. It's really easy to configure your desktop, both in terms of the third-party solutions that you've added, as well as the native solutions that we're offering. You're probably not going to use all 28 solutions. So when I go over to the admin menu and click on admin and then desktop and groups, down here, let's say I don't want landing page copy. It's something that recruiters don't do. I'll click on the cross and that'll get rid of that. Let's say we're no longer on SuccessFactors. Click this off, and I'm going to add in, where's my cross button gone? Okay, and then I'm going to add in, let's say we're now on Greenhouse. I'm going to add that in, back to the desktop, and as you can see, SuccessFactors is no longer there, but Greenhouses is there. Click on that, it opens it up. We've created a marketplace. There's 140 different tiles in here for third-party solutions. Okay, I'm a recruiter in your team, and I'm going to be working on a job I've never worked on before. So I'm going to go into research, go into find. If there's nothing in there, I'll go into create. This is for a design job. It's a product designer. It is hybrid, and it is New York City. Okay, so I'm going to ask an understanding jobs question. What's the main responsibilities for this job? And respond in simple terms. Click perform research. This is going to give me some good information to help me understand what this job is all about. I can then ask other questions in here, such as, what other job titles mean the same? What academic institutions train people to do this job? Which organizations employ these people in that location? What's the average salary? Let's do this one. Which organizations employ people in this location? As you can see, here's the overview of that role. Okay, we're changing the interface on this over the weekend, and what this is going to do is it's going to be able to allow you to select, I want these 4 questions, or I want all of these questions in one go, or whatever it might be. So product designers, a list of the organizations employing the most in that location are Google, Facebook, Amazon, IBM, Spotify, and others. Okay, let's take a look at the average salary for somebody in that location doing that job. It's going to come back with some information, and it's going to reference where is this coming from. So the average salary for a product designer in New York City is approximately $92,000. According to Glassdoor, it's actually a bit higher than that. It's 103,000. Sources for that are Glassdoor and PayScale. So now that I understand more about this job, the next thing I'm going to do is find some candidates. So I go into my Boolean builder, I click on find, and if there's nothing in there, I click on create. This is a marketing job. It's a content marketing executive, working again hybrid and based in San Francisco. I click inspire me because I want similar jobs to be considered. Okay, and I click inspire me because I want locations close by San Francisco. Build my Boolean string, search Google. Here are relevant people who might be good for that particular job in the right location. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is reach out to these individuals. So I'm going to go into my social media outreach area, click find, and if there's nothing in there, click create. This is a healthcare job. It is a physical therapist, and it's based in Los Angeles. Click inspire me. This is now going to give me some suggested language. It might be a little weird because this particular environment is set up for my company, which is of course, recruitment technology business. And it might wonder why I'm trying to hire a physical therapist in Los Angeles. But anyway, it's going to be looking at things like, what are our EVPs? What are the potential career pain points for a physical therapist? And it's going to be looking to match up with some persuasive language. I could also build a social media post and a job advert and a conversation guide, which is like a crib sheet or an elevator pitch. I can build interview questions. Let's take a look at this. So I've got some candidates now, and this is for a human resources job. It is a recruitment specialist, and they're based in New York City. I want a technical question, and I want it for the first stage assessment. Click inspire me. This is now going to build several technical questions for a recruitment specialist based in New York City. This is really good to take to the hiring manager and find out if they're happy with the questions. It's very good when the hiring manager is asking you for technical questions on a subject that's maybe not your subject. Recruitment, of course, is your subject, but if it's for some other area which you don't have that expertise in. So you need to fill a highly specialized technical role within a tight deadline, the hiring team struggling to find qualified candidates through traditional channels. How would you approach sourcing candidates for this role? What strategies would you employ to ensure you meet the deadline? You are tasked with improving the candidate experience during the recruitment process. Feedback indicates that candidates find the current process lengthy and cumbersome. What steps would you take to streamline the recruitment process, and how would you measure the success of these changes? Okay, there's a third one in here as well. So there's 3 technical scenarios with the question and some follow-up questions. And you could do this, of course, across any jobs that you want to add into Poetry to get some useful input on. Another useful solution we've got in here that we built recently based on feedback is skills-based hiring. So I have been asked for some inspiring ideas around hiring a product marketing manager job, because we're struggling to fill the job, and so we need to think outside the box. That person's based in San Francisco. I click Inspire Me, and this is now going to generate for me, what are the other types of jobs which have got an overlapping skill set with the product marketing manager. Here's the related positions. Here's the essential tasks for this role. Here's the essential skills and competencies, soft skills, and here's some suggested assessment strategies and an implementation strategy for skills-based hiring on this particular job. This is something you could use to challenge the hiring manager if they've got a fixed mindset. It's also something you could use to get creative, as I say, if the role's hard to fill. In terms of learning, we've developed this team learning area. It's very straightforward, but there's some more sophisticated things we're going to be doing with this over the next couple of weeks. So here's how we do advertising. And here's how we do assessment. Here's how we do CRM. Here's how we do career site. You obviously will change the default kind of template that we've got in here, and you will change it to upload your own deck or video or whatever it is to explain how within your team you go about doing these things. You can get some good analytics in here. You click on this icon and you get to click Analyze Learning, and this will show you at a glance which solutions are being used and which are not within the learning area. I want to talk about competitive insights. So in the battle cards solution, this is really great. I can add in the name of an organization that is a competitor or that we would want to hire people against. Let's put in a company. My mind's gone absolutely blank. Let's take Rolls-Royce as an example. I think it's probably rolls-royce.com. Create competitor. This has now created a battle card for Rolls-Royce. And so I think I'm just going to click on the reload on this page because this is a brand new solution. And there's 1 or 2 things that need to be ironed out slightly. But as you can see here, it has given some good information about Rolls-Royce, how many employees, the industry they're in, where are their people. So that's quite useful. I could also click Generate Insights. And what this is going to do is it's going to populate for me what are Rolls-Royce's strengths as an employer, weaknesses as an employer, what are their locations and culture. Okay, so here's one relating to leadership, new CFO. Leadership, recent CEO appointment. Culture, high standards and expectations. Culture, traditional corporate culture. Culture, strong emphasis on R&D. I can filter them according to the boxes here. Weakness, limited flexibility, slow decision-making process, high pressure work environment. If you're from Rolls-Royce, maybe you could tell me if these are what you're experiencing or not. Now, I'm working on a job I've never worked on before. I don't want to have to go into all these different solutions to get the information I need. So we've created this playbook functionality. Go to playbooks, create. This is for a data job. It's a data analyst. It's based in Los Angeles. I click select all, playbook assets, build playbook. There's my Boolean string. There's a brand advert for advertising on social media. Next is going to be candidate interview guide. Then it's going to be a conversation guide for like your elevator pitch. It'll take about 2.5 minutes to develop 25 plus pieces of information, which will help me with that job. While that's building, what I'd like to do is invite Stephen to talk to us about what are the things that we need to do to set up this workspace so that the produce that's coming out of this in terms of outreach messaging and job adverts and things like that, they're on brand, they're relevant for your specific organization.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's two really kind of major steps that we want to take. By clicking on the admin menu on the top left hand side, the first thing you want to do is scroll down and set up your organization or your org. What that means is basically that there is your departments or teams, your job titles, your locations, and your hiring managers all in one place. So you would put in the information to do with your teams here. So you can see Adam is typing that and adding it. You would then move into your job titles, add the relevant job titles to that team, and then add the relevant office locations and the hiring managers that are associated with all of the above. This helps us with a couple of things. This helps us with categorization within the platform. So the ability for you to find things really easily, because that's super important for us. We're not just about creation, we're about finding and sharing. And the second thing is the creation or the inspiration of our LLM and AI driven elements to the platform as well. So it's really just about you being able to find things and us being able to create things on your behalf really simply. You can see here it's a really straightforward walkthrough process, and there is a guide that would help you with that as well. Once you've done that, you would go back to your admin menu, you would head to setup and configuration. And this is where we really start to tell your story. So you would set templates for things like job adverts, email copy, job descriptions, landing pages. And by templates, what we mean is what you would say at the intro and outro of all of them, right? So you never have to copy and paste that information or type that information again. You can see lots of things would require the header and the footer to be really kind of fairly regimented in terms of what you're offering and sending out there. The next thing would be global rules. Global rules is really where we start to emphasize your own personality in the poetry platform. So that's things like your logo, your company website, your hashtags, your email signature and EVP, and then some Gen AI rules and what you are and aren't allowed to do within the platform. The reason that we ask for things like hashtags, things like EVPs, things like websites, is that we really start to build a company persona. If you click on the next tab for me, Adam, company info, based on these questions, which are 10 straightforward questions. Why were you formed? What's your core values? What are you trying to achieve as a company? What's your tone of voice even? What things should I say and shouldn't I say? And we really build that persona out. We then use the information on the previous screen, like your website, like your EVP. And when we are producing stuff for you in poetry, it really builds that persona first, and then asks the platform to look at all of this information, and then it really starts to generate it in your tone of voice. What it's doing is setting the guardrails around AI generation. you could have a whole host of recruiters that are using ChatGPT or Claude or any of the other available kind of LLMs, and they're out there creating things that probably sound all right, but they're not fitting into the guardrails that you have set as a company. And that's what's really important as we start to kind of explore this like human AI kind of, interaction that's going on at the moment, is how can we help best facilitate that for you to be able to have control of it as an organization, but also make recruiters feel like, their job's much easier, much smoother and much quicker. So that's the two main things that you need to do for setup.
Great. Let's go back to this playbook. So this was a data analyst based in Los Angeles. It's generated an image. You may or may not want image generation. This is the data analyst based in Los Angeles. Of course, we've got our logo attached to this. You can have your logo into it. You can also have like a hashtag or your career site URL or something like that in the image. And over the next few months, we're going to be doing more work around giving you the ability to create more bespoke versions of what the images are. We've asked for photorealistic in here, and we've asked for images with colors which are complementary to our logo and our brand colors. Here are all of the assets that this has built. Let's take a look at, for example, the personas for this particular job. So current salary for this job in Los Angeles between 65 and 96,000, according to Glassdoor and PayScale. What's their educational experience? What's their management experience? What's their work experience? What might tempt them? What it's looking at is our EVP alongside what's their career pain points to suggest ways that you might go about emphasizing why they could be interested in your organization. There's other information that you're going to be able to get from this, such as if I go into, I'm in a staging environment there, but if I go into a live environment and go back to personas and generate, you get labor market analytics in here as well. So let's say this is a manufacturing job. It's a quality control specialist based in Los Angeles. I click generate. And this is now creating for me a whole lot of additional information. This is in the live environment, such as workforce insights, talent locations, workforce demographics, gender, diversity information, potential employers, what job titles did they, here we go. So like, who do they work for? So they work for Amgen, Northrop Grumman, Medtronic, etc. What are the job title changes? So what did they come from and then become? Talent flow mobility, where's the locations that they come from and to? Gender, 60% male and 40% female in this type of job. There's approximately 1,200 people doing this job based in Los Angeles. And in the past 3 months, there's been around 300 job adverts. So there's a very heavy demand on people with this particular skill. Let me go back to the playbook, go to list. So job description for this. Here's a job description for this particular one, data analyst in Los Angeles. Okay, what are all the responsibilities and what are the requirements for this type of job? Okay, I want to know what's going on in the playbook. In the workspace. I can click on the symbol on the desktop and then analyze desktop usage. And now I'm going to get to see which of the solutions are being used the most and the least. I can filter that according to an individual. So if I've got a one-to-one with somebody, I can check out what's Stephen been doing, just as an example. Oh, I think I clicked clear desktop usage. Workspace, Stephen. And I can see here what that individual's been doing. Over on the left-hand side, in the admin area, something else I wanted to show you in analytics is asset analysis. I get to see, of course, for you, this is going to be US or Canadian dollars. But here's the total value of all of the assets that we have built within this particular workspace. So I don't want this to go into like a training session, which I would do if I kept going on, but there's a lot of different solutions in here. When you start, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to choose which of the solutions we don't want to use, which are the ones we want to use like immediately, and which are the ones that we want to use as a as a sort of phase 2 or something like that. Put a question in here, which is there import tools that we can use to get all of our information into your platform? Yeah, so you can drop in a CSV for everything like what are your teams and locations and hiring managers. You can drop a CSV in there. That'll import that. We have got ATS connections coming in the next month with Workday and SuccessFactors and others. Stephen, any other import tools that we can use?
I know. So that's the main ones. The integration will be the utmost goal. We're only weeks away from making that happen, and right now you can populate a CSV and drag and drop files into Poetry.
Yeah, I mean, and also for things like your company's images and your company's policies and things like that, you can just drop in the file. You could drop in like multiple files in one go. That's another way you could do that. Okay, great. Stephen, anything that is really important that I maybe haven't covered?
Not particularly. I think considering the audience is North America, quite often global organizations can be based there and be set there, and I think realistically what we have tried to build is a platform that is suitable for all different sizes of TA teams, but particularly really paying attention to what RPO style users might need, what global organizations might need. And we have things like permission settings where you can really segment whether people can do certain things in the platform, or whether you want to lock down a tile completely or a solution completely. And I think what that means is that we're not coming here into your org and saying, hey, do things a Poetry way because it's the best way. If you have really great examples of something, if you already have great kickoff meeting templates or candidate interview templates, drop them into Poetry, lock the solution down, and then therefore it still becomes your one-stop shop for your TA team, but already leveraging all the good work that you've done, and maybe we just plug in the gaps. And that's, I think, a key kind of way to think about it. I quite often talk about this trajectory of a Poetry journey, and the way that I see it really happening is that you'll probably come in for 3 to 6 months of creation, figuring out the tool, thinking it looks cool, trying to kind of figure out what you need, what you like and what you dislike. There'll then be 3 to 6 months of standardization, taking audits, understanding what you already have, putting that in line with Poetry. And then it's really about how easy, how quickly, and how fast you can find things beyond then. I want to find the best example of a mechanical engineer job description, and it's already there, top of the list, and you can just click and go. We've got some really exciting roadmap stuff around that. Retrieval augmented generation, the ability for you to essentially have your own LLM within Poetry that's serving you up real-time information about the things that you need, that you want, and that you should have moving forward in your TA workflow. And we'll have some community aspects in there as well, so that you can always keep in check with other people and make sure that you are staying up to date with processes and policies and things like that. I've probably just stolen the next question that you're going to ask me there, Adam, off the back of that. But I think we're really excited that and genuinely believe that we are building something game changing for the TA world here.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And incidentally, you said earlier, Stephen, like, we're not telling you this is the Poetry way, you got to do it our way. If we were, by the way, the Poetry way is literally our market's way. We have done thousands of hours of research to identify what do talent acquisition and RPO teams want. And so we've built this based on our knowledge of what people want from them telling us what they want.
Yes.
So we're on a mission to create the world's most useful talent acquisition technology. I think we are about 70% of the way there. And by the end of this year, I think I'm going to be able to genuinely say we have created the world's most useful talent acquisition technology, because we're moving at light speed. And in the second half of the year, we are doing pilot programs with large talent acquisition teams so that we can gather further insights from their usage in a real world scenario. If you would be interested in taking part in that, it's not for every organization, but if you've got the kind of criteria we're looking for, then I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to talk to you about what that might look like and what we would want from you and what you would get in return. So thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this. I hope it's been interesting. Stephen and I are at your service, and happy to hear from you. So thanks again.
Thank you.